This empty chair represents the addict who died today, not knowing recovery was possible.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to tonight's episode of The Empty Chair for the Addict That Didn't Make It. Tonight's show is dedicated to Colleen Mulray. She was 43 years old and passed away February 3rd this year, and actually there's a better glimpse of her. Beautiful young woman. She was a daughter, a mother, a friend, and she was also the mother of William's children.
Correct, Elizabeth.
So tonight's show is dedicated to her. And we do this show because, for the addict that didn't make it, and we also want to offer hope to those that are out there that struggle with addiction still. So in 2021, I always report we had 100,300 individuals lost their lives to overdose in 2021. Of those deaths, 440 of them occurred in the Merrimack Valley. And since January of this year, I don't have the numbers for March because we're still collecting the numbers. But as of right now, we've had 56 deaths, 56 overdoses in the Merrimack Valley, which consists of Methuen, Andover, Lawrence, and Haverhill. And of those 56 overdoses, 5 of them resulted in deaths. So that's why we do this, because one life is one too many. And so we continue trying to bring hope out there, carry a message, have individuals come in here to show that recovery is possible. Many things lead to addiction, whether it be genetics, environmental, trauma. There's a lot that can lead to addiction. And tonight's guests will share their experience, strength, and hope, and what brought them and led them to addiction. As always, before the show, I always like to thank our guests, but I'll thank my guests too. But I like to thank our sponsors. So Alternative Home Healthcare, Circle of Hope, Cornerstones, Essex Companies, Essex County Outreach, Greater Lawrence Family Health Center, the Haven of Hope, LMCC, which is the Lawrence Methuen Community Coalition, Methuen Events, Tidal Boxing Club in North Andover, Top Sale Addiction, and I think those are all our sponsors. If you're new and you're turning in, what our sponsors do is their banners will be playing throughout the evening, and these individuals have purchased the banner so that we can show them throughout the show, and also to get advertisement for their companies. But that money got put into an account, and so these companies are the ones that are sponsoring individuals into sober living. After someone completes treatment, a lot of times you don't have the finances to get into living. A lot of times you can't go back to your own home, because it's just not a safe place to be. So these individuals who we appreciate so much have financially sponsored numerous of men and women. We actually sponsored 2 today to go into sober living. So thank you to those. And we truly appreciate everyone that does sponsor. And if you want to become a sponsor for our next season, make sure you reach out to me and get your banner out there. And would love to have it. So if you guys want to do it as well. Our shows. Before I go any further, I always want to thank Costa Broadcasting for allowing us to utilize their studio, and most importantly, Lou Blasi, who we love to pieces. Thank you for your dedication to MVP ASAP. I always think, he's going to be like, I don't want to do it anymore, but he loves doing this, which is so cool. So I also want to let everyone know our shows can be found on Google, iTunes, Spotify, and right now we should be live on our own YouTube channel, which is the Empty Chair Podcast. I'd like to let everyone know of different events that are upcoming. This weekend, there's a lot going on March 26th. There's the pre-conference assembly, and that will be taking place at the First Parish Congregational Church in Derry, New Hampshire. Also on March 26th is the New Hampshire NICIPA, I believe it is, Field Day. They're going to have games, activities, and prizes along with some amazing speakers. This will be held at the Riverside Park in Haverhill, Mass., and it's from 12 to 5, and it says dress appropriately for being outside. If you want more information on that, you could reach out to Greg Kelly on Facebook, or you can also reach out to me and I will connect you to him. On the evening of March 26th, Shine On Open Mic for those in recovery. This is an amazing event. Their first event, I saw this gentleman playing a guitar and singing, and I just started sobbing. I just think addicts and alcoholics are so creative. So that's this Saturday evening. It starts at 6:30 with a gratitude meeting, followed by a night of music, fellowship, and fun. And that will be held at Ray of Light Cafe, which is above A1 Diner in Haverhill, Mass. April 1st through the 3rd is the 55th annual New Hampshire AA Convention Coming of Age, and that is being held at North Conway, New Hampshire. And then April 8th through the 10th is the Young People Conference in Bartlett, New Hampshire. All these events can be found on www.nhaa.net. Another thing that MBPASAP is looking into doing is working with adolescents. So we will be contacting a few gyms to start partnering to get kids to start moving energy in a different, healthy way instead of going down through addiction. So April 18th through the 22nd, there is a wrestling camp for junior high and high school students. Anyone in the Merrimack Valley is interested or able to attend. That's going to be held at the Be Well at Black Barn Farm in Methuen, Massachusetts. If you want information on that, reach out to Soap Nemvar at their Facebook page, or as always, you can reach out to me. Also, MVP ASAP will be sponsoring kids that don't have the finances to attend this camp. I'm also meeting with a Brendan Meduno. He's from the House of Athletes, and he has programs that are structured and tailored for students as well. So I'm looking to partner with him. And then there's an amazing wrestling club I'm trying to get in touch with in Lawrence. So we have a lot of things. We're trying to stay busy. I think more and more now that we're coming into spring and the warm weather and people are collaborating and starting to do things. Like I'm looking forward. We're going to be having a fun evening for MVP ASAP, which I'd love you guys to be there, and also hopefully get at least one big event in at the schools before the end of the year. So every week, though, there are some happenings in our area, and these are all Celebrate Recovery meetings. There are Tuesday nights at the Rock Church in Plastow, Wednesday night 60 Island Street in Lawrence, Mass. Thursday evenings at Jess Church in Haverhill, Mass. Also want to remind everyone of the Methuen Police Department. We have monthly resource nights, the first Monday of the month, where we recently had you and Michael in to share about your organization. We do that so that the words just get spread. Like you just got to keep telling people, and the more people you tell, they'll say, hey, I remember that guy from that evening. I think he has a program that might fit your loved one, So that's the first Monday. And then every Monday, except for holidays, we always have the Circle of Hope, and that's hosted by Phil and Fran Leahy. They do an amazing job of meeting with families, anyone that has a loved one that's struggling with addiction. So come join us every Monday, 6:30 to 8 at the Sanborn Hall at 90 Hampshire Street. Another thing that Ray of Light Cafe offers is meetings throughout the entire week. Monday through Friday, they have noontime meetings. Friday evenings, they have Drop the Rock, which is an amazing. Have you guys read that book? Well, you got to finish your steps. And then amazing, life-changing book. Saturdays, 7 p.m., they have a speaker meeting. And then on Sunday, they do a study of the big book. The Ray of Light Cafe can be found at 92 Merrimack Street in Haverhill, right above the A1 Deli. For more information, you can reach out to Diana Teal via Facebook, and also you can call her at 603-489-7061. And lastly, I always like to tell everyone about the Movement Family TMF. It is Wednesday evenings. It's a perfect opportunity to feed the homeless or to sponsor a meal. If your organization wants to purchase a meal, would love for you to get involved. Reach out to Michael Gorman via Facebook, or again, you can reach out to me and I will get you the information. They meet every Wednesday, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. on 1 South Broadway. And so I think that's it for everything that I have. If anyone that's listening has an event, please put it into the feed bar so that we'll always have it, and I'll know to announce it throughout our show as well. And So now tonight you're looking at 61 years of sobriety sitting at this microphone, because us totaled together is 61 years. So Lou, that's older than you. Oh my goodness, right? So, and that's pretty cool. And the reason why I say that is because people need to know that recovery is possible, you know, and congratulations to you on your recent celebration in February. It's a beautiful thing. So I'm going to hand it off to you guys to see, have you share your experience, strength, and hope. Your eyes are better than mine, so I don't know if anyone's talking to you guys on the far right.
My fan.
Yeah, okay. Woohoo! So they're all wishing you luck. So with that fan club, let's hear your experience, strength, and hope.
Thank you.
Welcome.
I just want to say thank you for having us. It's what a privilege it is to be here with you guys. But yeah, so I'm Brittany. I'm a person in long-term recovery.
Hi, Brittany.
You know, so I did celebrate 8 years on February 3rd.
Woohoo! Congratulations.
Thank you. And I say that, like you said, to make people aware that it's possible,
Yep.
right? Because 8 years ago, I didn't have any of that, you know? So my story is not anything different than anyone else's, to be honest with you. You know, I was young, and when I was young, you know, I came from a broken home, and you know, most of us do, right? I'm from Charlestown, and my parents were divorced at a young age.
Do you know my partner, Jackie Neff Ingersoll?
No.
I think she's from Charlestown.
I don't know.
Isn't that like where all the dead bodies are?
No, I mean, I'm not part of that one.
Yeah, I think that's where Jackie
I have no
lives.
idea. I'm not sure.
Isn't that where Whitey Bulger and all them were
No,
from?
that's Southeast Somerville, maybe,
Oh,
kind of.
yeah, she's definitely Charlestown, though.
Yeah. So basically, I had a younger sister, and, you know, like, my mother also suffers from this disease. And, you know, she was an alcoholic as well. And, you know, so growing up was a little difficult in my house a little bit. Like, my dad worked a lot, and my mom did the best she could. And, you know, me and my sister, we, you know, had to like do things on our own a little bit, you know, so I always felt like I needed to protect her. And, when I, you know, got to high school, you know, my dad met this lady, and, you know, I met like the best people in my life, like all my best friends that are like all blowing up the screen right now.
Nice.
And,
we love it.
You know, I've been friends with them for 17 years.
Amen.
And, you know, they've been through everything with me as long as well with my family. And I don't know, you know, as it went on, like I had a normal high school experience. Like, I hung out with my friends, drove around, like we didn't get into trouble, like we were good kids, you know. And then
That's interesting.
yeah, we like
usually addiction starts in like high school.
No, for me it started in college.
Okay.
You know, I went off to college, and I felt like I could be free, right? Like I could breathe, and like I could like be this person that like I didn't even know I didn't want to be. Like I thought I wanted to be this person that I didn't. And you know, I always say I was a fall down alcoholic before I ever stuck a needle in my arm. You know, I was at bar rooms every night, and I was, you know, getting into different types of drugs, and hanging with people I had no business hanging with, and getting into all these trouble issues that, like, to me, I thought were cool, right? Like, I didn't know that, you know, you weren't supposed to do lines before you go to a final. Like, that to me, like, that was fun. Like, I was in college, I was supposed to be doing this stuff, right? And but I wasn't. I was supposed to be going to class and like learning and like getting an education, and I didn't understand that. Like, I thought I could just, you know.
You arrived.
Yeah, like I thought I was like I was good. Like, yeah, like I was just gonna like live my life and like be this person that I didn't want to be. I promise you that. And you know, one thing after the next led to the next, and I ended up coming home. I was in a long-term relationship with somebody, and it was really toxic. And you know, he seemed more important at the time. And also I had a drug problem that I didn't know that existed. I had an uncle who's very well known from where I am, and, you know, he ran around for a long time, and, you know, he was an IV drug user, and I didn't think I was anything like that. You know, I was better than that. I was only doing X, Y, and Z, and I wasn't there, and I wasn't doing that, and I wasn't stealing, and wasn't sticking needles in my arm, and like, that's gross. And you know what I mean? The normal stuff.
Hell yeah.
And basically what happened was I came home, and, you know, I dropped out of school. out of one school. I got myself into another school, and then I called my dad and I said, hey, like, by the way, I dropped out of Johnson & Wales and I got myself into another school. And he's like, wait, what? Like, what do you mean? Like, you were going to Rhode Island, now you're back in Boston? Like, and that's just kind of how I did things.
Did you go back to a community college?
No, so I went to Bay State for a couple semesters, but I ended up failing out of there because I wasn't going to class. I was like skipping school and just like going to get high. And you know, those friends that I talked about, like, instead of going back with them, I like found new friends, right? Because my friends were like catching on. They were like, you can't go to the beach without stopping at this person's house. Like, you can't do this without like smoking weed, or like everything was some type of drug needed to be involved. And they were just kind of catching on, like, this isn't normal, Britt. And they kept saying it to me. And I was basically like this tough girl from Charlestown that you weren't going to tell me anything. And I was going to do what I wanted to do. And that's what I did. And, you know, so I started to back away from them, and I started finding new friends that did new things, and those new friends introduced me to new things. And, you know, I definitely tried heroin a couple times, and, you know, I was doing more of like the pills and stuff at the time, and like I sniffed it a few times. So like, you know, when it was presented to me again, like it wasn't like that big of a deal. And that's basically what happened, is that, you know, my uncle got sober, the one that ran around. He went to a program, and he got sober, and he came home, and just as his life was getting put together, my life was unrivaled, like unhinging to the walls. You know, everything was a problem. I was lying, I was stealing, I was cheating, I was a mess. I was staying up for days at a time. I was working around the clock just to like get by, to like basically pay for my drug habit. And you know, I hid it like very well. Like I'd like waitress all day, like do 2 shifts, and then like go out all night. And then by the time I got up in the morning, I'd have to go back to work. My mom would have no idea, right? And I was just a mess. And my uncle knew it, and he would come into my work and threaten me and tell me I was gonna like get sectioned and all this. And again, I was like, who are you? You haven't been around for 25 years. Like,
we have a phone call? You guys throw your headsets on for a minute.
Oh,
really? You got people pranking you?
Oh God.
I hope so.
Probably.
Yeah,
no, my family.
You know this guy. Go ahead, Phil.
Hello.
Hi guys, how are you? Hi Cole.
Hi. How are you?
Listen, actually, obviously I'm calling to congratulate your guests on their sobriety and to thank that young man for coming to our Circle of Hope meeting. But the main reason I'm calling is when you opened the show and you talked about the 2021 overdoses. I think I got seriously ill just hearing those numbers. And I think that's why it is so important that you do continue this show, and we do bring in people who are in long-term recovery, so that people like myself who have been doing it for a while and still get frustrated can see the miracle of recovery, and gives us a little hope. But boy, those figures you gave me made me sick, and that's not even counting alcohol-related deaths, is it?
No, that is all over. Those numbers are based on addiction. Yeah.
Yeah. God help us. But guys, spread the word and let some of these parents that are dealing with it know that there is hope for recovery. And have a great show.
Thank you. And thank you for calling in.
Okay. Talk to you soon.
Right,
bye, guys.
Bye. He's my mentor. Yeah, he has him and his wife are 2 of the most amazing. I'm actually going to get emotional if I start saying it. Him? That was
Phil.
Yeah, our Phil from
Phil L.
Phil Leahy.
Yeah.
Where are you pointing?
He's on the screen.
He's on the screen. He says,
part of Brittany's fan club.
Yes, yes. But they are 2 of the most kindest, loving, generous, non-judgmental people that I'm blessed to have in my life, to walk alongside with me in my journey, and they give me strength to go through some shit that I go through. So thanks for calling in, Phil. Love ya. Love your wife more. But anyways, so I'm glad that he called, because again, this is why we do this show, because people need to know that recovery is real, because that's still happening. So when you were using heroin. It was actually real heroin, right? Because those were the years that before we went into lacing it with fentanyl. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Um.
So your uncle.
So my uncle's crazy.
Yeah.
Even though he's clean sober, he's crazy. He
Love
basically
him.
chased me into the halls.
Yeah.
Billy knows him.
Is he from Charlestown?
He is from Charlestown. Yes.
You have to tell me who it is.
So his name's Joe Griffin.
Okay.
He goes by Sausage, so I don't know if you know him.
Okay, that I do.
Oh, you do? Okay, then that's who he is.
Okay.
So he's crazy. He's tall. He's a big guy, and he can be scary at times. So basically, he's chased me into the halls, and dropped me into his network. Is basically what happened. But just to back up a little bit, he chased me into the halls, but I wasn't ready the first time. Yep. Things were more important. Boys, other things, like just jobs. I always say 3 things: jobs. I said Johnny's, jobs, and boys. Because that's what it was. Like when my first experience with it was like, oh wow, like all this stuff, you know what I mean? And I didn't know any of that existed. I just was like, I didn't even know AA was a thing. Like, even though he was in the program, I was kind of sheltered from that. So when I got there, other things interest me more than the message, right? And I couldn't hear that. I didn't know what that meant. I saw these slogans, all this weird stuff, and I was like, yeah, no, this isn't for me. Yep. But I could hang outside with them,
of course.
And that's kind of basically where it took me. And it led me right back into crossing the lines and escalating my drug addiction. And, so when I didn't know how to deal with the feeling, I used a drug to fix it. And that's basically my whole story about why I used, right? Is I didn't want to feel things. I didn't want to, I felt like I wasn't a person. I felt like I threw away my life. I was lost, I was this little girl who didn't even know how to have a bank account or pay her own phone bill. Yeah. And to basically, go so I can get to where the good stuff is, when I started living. Yeah. The night before I got sober, I was getting high at my house. I was living with my mom in Charlestown, and I have the greenest eyes ever. If I get high, you can see me in China. It's very, very you don't go around people, Yeah. And for some reason I thought it was a good idea to go downstairs and show my mom that I was not high, right? Yeah. And she's like, what are you doing? You need to go, because I wasn't allowed home when I was getting high like that. And
that reminds me when I used to get hammered, right? I used to snap my fingers and think you couldn't see me. And I'd be like, I'm so drunk. And
right?
Think you can't see me. People are like, what is she doing? Because you'll remember the show Soap, right? Where the guy snaps his finger on soap and he disappears. Bert, right? What's his name? Yeah, so I get that. Oh, yeah, everyone knows.
Yeah, exactly.
And we think everyone knows.
And I just thought I was getting by and nobody knew. And anyway, so I went upstairs and I had money. I always knew how to run and hustle and do all those things. I was unfortunately learned a lot of things at school, and it wasn't, education wise. It was how to hustle and get high different ways. And basically that's what I did. And so I made a conscious decision that night to get on my knees for the first time and ask for help. And I didn't even know what I was doing. I just was told in the past, just do it, right? And I did. And I got on my knees and I prayed for acceptance. And I didn't know who I was praying to or what I was doing. Or I was high. That's where I was at. I don't even know what was going on in my mind. I just thought it was a good idea. And I paused and I did that. And for whatever reason, I woke up the next day and my mom said I had to call my uncle and go to a meeting. And I was like, wait, you're not throwing me out? She's like, no, go to a meeting. I wasn't a program person. I know that you went through a program and things like that. I was kicked out of programs. I left programs. I ended up on the streets from programs. I ran away. I was not a program person. I was not good in program. And basically, I went to a meeting. I raised my hand. I asked for help. I got a network. I got a sponsor. I got a home group. I got another home group. I went to a meeting sometimes 2-3 times a day for years. My first couple of years, I was super, super involved. I'm still really involved in the community, especially in Charlestown. But
Amen.
I went to the Recovery Center in South Boston, Divine Way, which I always say was my program. It probably saved my life. I went there every day. I structured my day around meetings. What that looked like for me was, waking up 8 o'clock, even though I didn't have to, leaving my house, going over there, like getting involved, going to the 11 o'clock meeting, going to the 12 o'clock meeting, going to a 7 o'clock meeting. I wasn't like ready to experience any of the written work yet at the time. I was really broken when I got here. I remember sitting in noontime meetings in Charlestown and like not like I just wanted to yell. I wanted to cry. I wanted to throw things. And like these old people would be like, "You're fine, kid. Just come back." I'm like, what? Like, what do you mean come back? Like, I just yelled at you. Like, you want me to come back tomorrow?
And I'm glad you said the old people, because the old people saved my life.
Yeah,
those
100%.
were the ones that really kind of put like themselves around me to keep the younger people well, there wasn't many my age at that time, but to keep men away from me, and they just like made this leave her alone and let her figure this out. So I love that the old men, the old people, because they are lifesavers.
They are,
and today I'm one of those old people.
I mean, I honestly owe like a lot to the old timers in AA, especially in Charlestown, and even to the young people. When I got there, like there was young kids killing it. They had 2-3 years. They were like in programs. They were going to meetings every night. We were going places, doing things. I mean, the people I was surrounding myself with, they were living, and I was like, I want that. How do I do that? I was 23 years old. I had my mother buying me cigarettes every day, my dad buying me a bus pass, my mother paying for my cell phone. I didn't have a car. I had all this school debt that I like dropped out of school. I went to school for 4 years and didn't graduate. I'm like basically a loser at this point in my life. My sister's graduating college, getting into her master's degree, and so I'm like, what am I doing? Like,
How did your relationship with her get impacted? Because you were the one that were watching over her.
Kinda, yeah.
And then you become an addict. What happens to your relationship with her?
She was very mad at me for a very long time.
Yeah.
There was a period of my life that we didn't talk. I remember it was, I don't even know how long it was, to be honest with you. But all I remember is I was in the hospital because I had, unfortunately, because of this disease, a lot of us end up with Hep C and things like that. And I was really sick because of it. And thankfully, the world has got cures, and now I'm cured, and thank God for that. But due to that, I was in the hospital, and it was like a ghost was standing there. She like showed up at the hospital, and I remember her like coming in and telling me like, she's not talking to me. She's just gonna sit here, but don't talk to her. Like, she was like, my sister's very, she's like my best friend, but people say like I'm a brat, and
I
always say meet my sister.
The babies of the family are always the worst.
Well, we're 13 months apart, so we're like very, very
Twins.
close.
Yeah.
And I can honestly say that my relationship with her today is nothing like it has ever been in my life. For the past 8 years, she's been at my celebration every single year. When she gets a boyfriend, she calls me and tells me when she does things with her life. I'm part of it. She wants me to be part of it. When she graduated for her master's degree, I was there. Nice. When she bought her first house, I was there. When I accomplished things in my life, she's there. And it's just such a wonderful thing. You're going to get me emotional. She's literally like something that I could never imagined that would be back in my life again. Or have the same relationship. We went to Hawaii last year together. It was just there's just things that, you never think are possible. Like my sister hated me. I remember her texting me and telling me I was active on the streets, living on the streets, living a mess of my life. And her texting me, telling me that her life would be better without me. And like, basically she was waiting for me to die.
Yep.
And at that point, like, she wasn't wrong. I was a horrible person. I did horrible things, and I wasn't nice, and I didn't care. All I cared about was getting high. And it was awful. It's awful to see. It's awful now to think about. But even more when you see it in someone else, because it's not them. Like that wasn't me. That was my addiction. And unfortunately, like this thing called addiction, like really doesn't just like ruin your life. It ruins your other people's and your families too.
Absolutely.
But it also gets your family well. So through the program, I got sober. And like
Amen.
my mom, like I was saying, was an alcoholic my whole life. She got sober.
Amen.
So after I got sober about 6 months, she went to treatment and she's been sober since too.
Amen. Oh my
So,
God, that's
shout out,
beautiful.
Mom.
Yeah, Mom.
watching.
Woo! That's beautiful.
And I always say that she's a big part of my story. My mom, I can tell you from through and through, had my back this time. Like, I had nowhere to go. I had no money. I had nothing. And she, to this day, I mean, I had to come home and so funny story. My sister was in the middle of buying a house and she had to go to my mom's house with her 2 dogs. And then I left my boyfriend at the time and had to move home to mom's house. And we were all living at mom's house in a 2-bedroom with her 2 dogs. So I didn't have a room anymore. So I was literally sleeping on in my mom's bed at 8 years, almost 8 years clean, running a program and living at my mom's house on her bed for several months until I recently moved into my own apartment. But, like, that's the type of mother she is. Like, she's always been there for me. And our relationship has grown so much because I'm sober. She's sober. Mm-hmm. And like, my dad, I can honestly say, has been my rock through everything as well. Growing up, like he was, the one that held everything together mostly. He was the one that was like, go to school. And my mom was like, what are you wearing to school? I always say that. And, even now, like if if I walk into my mom's house, she's like, oh, what are you wearing? Like, I'm wearing that. I'm like, Mom, I'm going to like the gym. Like, who cares? They're very different. But I can say that last April, I graduated college. I went back to school. I got my LADAC. I got my bachelor's degree. I finally finished.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And I walked for my dad. Like I didn't want to walk. And my parents got in my car and drove 2 hours to Springfield and watched me walk across the stage. Mm-hmm. And I can honestly say that I did it for them. Yep. I walked for them. But like the fact that I did it was such an accomplishment for me because I never thought I could. Mm-hmm. And like that's what this program has done for me. Yes, it's given me a day of sobriety, but it's also given me the things that I couldn't achieve as an active addiction. I couldn't achieve, my best friend who's watching is getting married in September. I'm one of her bridesmaids. Amen. Like things like that. I watched her have her first kid. Yep. I'm a part of her life today. Like she's my niece. Like, you know what I mean? Like I couldn't be part of any of these things in anyone's life. I was so unable, I was broken. And like I said, I was lost and I like didn't have any direction in life. And today, like I have the things that I've accomplished. I can't even, sometimes I sit back.
How did you accomplish them? What did you do? Did you read books? Did you meditate? Did you hike? Like what was your way?
I just took it a day at a time.
Amen.
I really did. I really kept it really, really simple. I did do the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous with somebody a while ago. Mm-hmm. That really opened up my eyes and things like that. I choose not to sponsor people because I work in treatment. And I always say that I think it's more important as a professional to help people in my field than to sponsor people in AA. There's so many people out there and I can connect them with them if they need to, but it's a personal choice. And through this program, honestly, my first job was I was waitressing at Amarine's, which is Colleen's dad's restaurant, which is so funny. That's why I was like, this is weird. Yep. And I got fired because of my attitude. And
in sobriety?
Yes.
I love you.
I got fired like 3 times in sobriety. And my dad's on here and he's probably laughing because he's like, can you just keep a job for more than 6 months at a time? And literally I got fired for my attitude because I'm not a good waitress. I don't know why I ever thought I would be.
I love waitressing.
And basically somebody recommended me to go work at Right Turn in Somerville.
With Woody?
Yeah.
Woody Geisman?
Yeah.
Great guy.
I worked in the women's house as a mentor. And then that led me to the Gavin.
Yeah.
I started working at the Phoenix House.
Yep.
Not the Phoenix House, Divine Way at the Recovery Center.
Yeah.
From there, I started to work at the Shiloh House, which was part of VOA, as the lead tech there. And then from there, I ended up being the lead case manager to open up the Hello House from the island originally. And then I turned into their intake coordinator as well. from there, I went back to the Gavin full time, and then I went over to the Phoenix House, and I was their lead case manager for a while over there as well. And then from there, I went to RCA, which was my longest and my biggest amount of changes in my world. I would say I learned so many things there. I learned, I went in as a case manager. I came out as a supervisor. I left RCA.
Were you there when Laura Ames was running it?
Yes.
I love her.
So I was there before all of the chaos, and I was there after and through it with Laura. Laura just left.
I know.
Yeah. So Laura's a really big mentor. I was there for almost 5 years.
Yeah.
And then I left to become the program director at High Point in New Bedford.
Yep. God bless you.
I was living in Duxbury at the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh my God. How'd you get there? We need to talk.
And honestly, I could say that I loved it there.
Yeah.
I loved the program. I went into a system that needed a lot of fixing.
Yeah.
And I think that I did a really good job with it.
Awesome.
And, by the time I left, I was getting them their license back, and there was no errors. And that was a huge thing for me and a huge accomplishment.
Amen.
And now I'm running Clarity Health Massachusetts,
Amen.
which is a new program that we're opening up, hopefully within the next couple of months.
Yeah.
I'm the executive director. Billy's the director of business development. We have a whole team of people. And I always say that the best part of my team is that we're all in recovery.
Yeah.
From owners all the way down to investors, to business development, to my case managers, to my techs. Yeah. I've handpicked almost all of my staff, especially my leadership staff. I wasn't just putting anybody in the building with me. It was going to be really people who had the passion that I had. Yeah. My original goal for going in the field, like I wrote to you, was to help people. And it still is my primary purpose, but now it's to educate staff and to keep programs safe for addicts and alcoholics to come in and, get the help that they need and deserve. And I know how it feels to be the addict and alcoholic that's in treatment and everybody hates you because you suck as a patient. And honestly, I sucked as a patient, and I know I did. And the thing is, I want to help that patient because that's the patient that needs the help. Yep. The guy who gets all the stars. Yeah. Great. I love him too, but he can be the peer leader, but that kid, I want him in my office. I want to talk to him. Right. When he's trying to leave AA, who's stopping him? Yeah. Why are we not stopping him? Because that's someone's kid, that's someone's father, brother, sister. I don't think of that person walking out the door as a number. I think about it as someone who's about to die. And I try my hardest to keep them. And, that's the goal. And that's, when I interview people, that's what I ask them. How would you keep someone in treatment? Amen. That's what I want to know. I don't care about your resume and how many licenses you have and credentials. I want to hear how you do this, because that's the most important person, is the person trying to leave.
Amen.
And I think really strongly about it. I have a lot of passion for it, and I really love this field. And I'll end with people ask me all the time if I regret being an addict. And I always say no. And the reason I don't is because it's brought me to where I am today. It's given me a career. It's given me a life. And it's made me so much stronger than I ever was before I was an addict. Amen. The only thing I regret is that the three people I hurt the most are my sister, my dad, and my mom. And I kept them up at night, and I tortured them, and I really did. Mm-hmm. But the fact is that I have 8 years with them. Amen. And they love me every day because of it. And they're so proud of me. And my sister, my mom, and my dad, they're all sharing this on Facebook. And, every year there are all my celebrations and anything they support me through. And, I try my best to be available as possible for them. And, they're definitely the most important people in my life. And, nice. I'm available, I'm available for people, places, my career. And, I keep it simple. Good. But I do struggle, I love when people are like, oh, my life's so great. But I do struggle. Of course. We're human. I have all the same issues that everybody else has, except when I have a bad day, I can't drink and I can't drug. No, we have a solution. Yeah. Which is awesome. Right. I have to remember I'm going to read some of the comments before we go to break, and then I'll introduce Billy because I need to get close. So Carol Ann Griffin is giving you a heart. Irene Marie is love you, Britt. Mm-hmm.
Phil Leahy, the Forgotten Epidemic. Hi, Fran. Matt O'Malley. You know
Love
that's my
him.
godson, right?
Really?
Yes.
Oh, love him so
Yep,
much.
Yep. Carol Ann, Andy Goldberg. Oh,
That's
hi,
my dad.
Scott. And hi. Oh, Scott saying hi not only to me, but Fran and Phil. Matt O'Malley, Britt and Bill are the best. Joanne Simone. Oh, Fran, I love you too. Hi, Kathy. Kathy Brian, who is under Peter Donato. Happy 55th birthday, my beautiful friend. And Taylor, I don't want to crush her last name.
That's my cousin.
Oh, hi, cousin. So we're going to get ready to go to our break. Thank you to all that's been writing, and feel free to call in. When we come back, we're going to hear the story of Bill. So we'll be right back.
Hi there, my name's Phil Leahy, and I do the Empty Chair show here. And as much as Fran and I have enjoyed doing this show, our real passion is with where it all began, the Circle of Hope, my support group for the families of addicts. I learned a long time ago that dealing with an active addict is just too difficult. So we invite you to join our group, the Circle of Hope. Give me a call, 978-886-2949, and you'll see our banner on the show anyway. And give me a call, find out what it's all about. You know, if you don't think you're ready to sit into a group, Fran and I always invite people over to the house, and we sit down, have a one-on-one, and we talk about a plan you'll have to set up, how to deal with someone in active addiction, or just give you a chance to vent. So, I mean, if you or someone you know has dealing with someone in active addiction, reach out, give a call, take the first step. I promise you that it won't make it easier, but once you understand what it's all about, you'll be able to deal with it a little bit better. So again, 978-886-2949. Just ask for Phil. I'm always available 24/7. Thanks, and we'll see you on the Empty Chair. Bye-bye.
Welcome back to the second half of the Empty Chair. And during the commercial, you heard Phil Leahy inviting everyone again to the Circle of Hope, which does meet Monday evenings, 6:30 to 8 at Methuen Police Department in Sanborn Hall. Also, if you're not comfortable to come into a group, Fran and Phil have people over for their house for coffee, especially Phil likes if you bring ice cream. So, yeah, Circle of Hope every Monday evening at Methuen Police Department. Come join us. So, amazing testimony that recovery works. Amazing testimony that we can turn our lives around and create who and what we want to be. So it was an honor and privilege to hear you. So thank you for sharing. And it's an honor to introduce Bill this evening, who went from William to Billy to Bill. Billy.
Bill or Billy?
Billy! It's your turn, brother.
I want to thank you, Cole, for having us
Yes.
to come out and speak. I'll try to be relatively quick. It was good to hear Brittany. I myself am a person in long-term recovery. It was good. I identified a lot with not, what Brittany said, generally speaking. At the beginning, although I did get into a little trouble earlier on, I started drinking at 14, and it was nothing out of the ordinary. Everyone that I hung around with drank, and it was fun. It was just up to the schoolyard or the park, or somebody would have a keg party, and just innocent stuff. And that it lasted for probably a couple of years. And at the time, I was still able to go to school and be a somewhat decent student. I was never high honors or anything like that, but I did okay enough to get by. But as the years went on, and playing a ton of sports, just I loved being active, playing baseball, playing hockey, stuff like that. But as the years went on, the drinking progressed like everything else. you know, and it wasn't really, like I said, anything, because a lot of my friends kind of went in the same direction. It was back, like, you know, during the 90s, and there was a lot of a lot of people were doing opiates, heroin, and there was a lot of overdoses, a lot of suicides. So it wasn't anything. I mean, it was crazy, but it was kind of it's what went on. You know, but as the years went on and the fun kind of started to, it just wasn't fun anymore. You know, it wasn't after a few years of drinking. You know, a few other drugs come into the picture, and it went from, you know, weekend drinking Friday, Saturday to, you know, maybe once or twice during the week. And then, you know, as like 17, 18, it was less drinking and more drugs. And then that became pretty much just, that wasn't a Saturday, Sunday thing. That, you know, when I hit that point, it pretty much was as much as I could do, as often as I could do it. You know, doing whatever I had to do to get it. Like Brittany said, it didn't last with me. I was able to hold a job a little bit at the beginning when I was 17, 18, but not for long, you know, and after at about 18, 19, I wasn't holding anything. I couldn't even show up in the morning. So doing a lot of things that I shouldn't have been doing to get, you know, to get drugs pretty much. You know, and that from then on, I mean, from 18 until I got sober, like Brittany at 23, it was just it was insane. You know, it was at the first, it was, you know, a detox, and then I could go back home because I wasn't that bad, you know. And then I didn't get it. I kind of, like Brittany said, I'd go to detox for whatever it was, 3 days, 5 days, and then that night that I get out, I'd be out drinking with my friends. I didn't get it. I didn't care to get it. I didn't want it.
So why were you going to detox?
I honestly think at the beginning it's because I seen everyone else doing it. Like I said, all my friends were just as screwed up, or if not more than me.
Yeah.
So by the time we were 18, everyone was in detox. It was, you know, it was like the thing to do. So I think at the beginning, I don't know if I necessarily needed it.
Yeah.
But eventually I did.
Yeah.
And it went from, you know, that I'd get out of detox and drink, and I'd last, you know, 4 months, 6 months. But it just progressed. You know, everything got worse. And, you know, as the years went on, I was at the point where I was doing a lot of things that, you know, I wasn't welcome in my home, to put it, you know, simply. So I couldn't go home after detox. So then I would go to a CSS and a TSS, and then I might stick around, or I've been, you know, thrown out of quite a few of them for getting high inside the program. So I could care less. I didn't care. I didn't want it. You know, it was insane. And that just, it lasted for like 4 or 5 years. And, you know, eventually then I'd go back, and I might stick around for the CSS and actually, you know, stay dry while in there. And then I'd go to a halfway house or a sober house. And but even that, you know, it was maybe 6 weeks in a halfway house. And that's actually where I met Joe, Brittany's uncle. Was
Sausage?
Yeah. Over in the Gavin house. It was over 25 years ago, probably around 2000, I think. And I was in there for 6 weeks, and I didn't get it. You know, and then I got thrown out of there, and I continued to drink and use drugs, and that went on for years around there. I ended up at the end of my drinking, I ended up in Bridgewater. I don't know if it's still the same program, but it was 30 days. It was a lock unit.
Where you section 35?
Yeah. So I got sectioned. To this day, I don't even know what I did. And I woke up in Bridgewater. My parents had sectioned me. And I deserved it. You know, I didn't think I shouldn't have been there, but I had no direction. And I was there for 30 days, and, you know, that you don't get much in the way of help there. There's no really aftercare plans. You might get a couple options, you know. So it was either, I'm pretty sure, I think I was talking to you when we were up at the other event a few weeks ago, that it was either, there was some program at Saugus. I think it was something to do with the church. I forget what it was.
Salvation Army?
Yes, Salvation Army was one option. And the other option was go out to Chicago, where my dad was friends with the guy that used to do the EAP for the Boston Fire, and he was in Willie Oster guy. Willie was friends with the guy that ran the halfway house out in Chicago, and a lot of guys from around here were going out there at that time. So I chose that instead of whatever the other option is that we just said. And it just eventually it didn't take right out there right away. I was doing the same things that I was doing here. I never really had an issue with like going to meetings. I was always going to, and you kind of had to while you're in a halfway house. But I would I went out there and I think November, and my family would come out every few months. And I would go out drinking. Like a friend of mine would come out, or my younger brother, and I'd go out drinking for the weekend while I was in the halfway house. It was just, I don't know. I just
the insanity of the disease.
Yeah, and I really didn't think like, oh, I'm an addict. Like I can drink. I didn't think any of that. I didn't think anything through. I just did it.
Yeah.
And whatever consequences came, that's what came. And it didn't spiral out of control right away out there. I was able to get away with it a couple of times, and then I honestly don't know what happened looking back, but I did eventually start using drugs again out there, and overdosing in the halfway house at least once, and then just making up some crazy excuse about I was working all day and I went for a jog, and it must have been my heart was acting up.
Yeah, but Narcan saved you.
I don't know I don't even know if Narcan was around back then. That was
Probably not.
2002,
No.
maybe.
Nope.
Maybe the needle version.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It might have been. I don't know. I was so screwed up, but it was just that for years out there. It was a year of that, just bouncing around. And then eventually I was in and out of programs here, and then it was around the holidays that I had come home for a visit and was probably drinking while I was here, still well in a halfway house. And then when I went back out there, that was it. It was the last time that I drank or used drugs was in Massachusetts, but went back out to Chicago, Illinois, and I pretty much just did exactly what Brittany said, where I went to meetings. And a lot of the meetings that I went to were during the day. So there was a lot of old timers there that even had a nice city job where they could scoot out during a break, or they were retired. A lot of the guys that I was around were like, at the time, like 70s. They were older, but those are the guys that I kind of latched onto. And they just kept it real simple, that they would pick me up for a meeting. Like Brittany said, the first thing they told me to do was get on your knees and pray. Just ask for help, ask for the obsession to drink or use drugs be lifted. And I didn't know, in my head, I'm like, what the hell does this have to do with anything? But I just did it. And it wasn't too long after that, like 3 months or 6 months, where I was able to see what these guys are telling me to do. I was able to see it. All right, I'm taking their suggestions and I'm doing it, like the praying, going to meetings every day, asking for help, and it was working. I hadn't had the obsession or even the desire. Even still today, 19 years later, I could probably count on one hand where I actually thought I was going to drink or I had maybe an obsession.
Yeah.
And I give a lot of credit to those guys. It's we have to do the work, but if they weren't there to give me some direction, I had proven time and time again that I wasn't really the best with giving myself direction. So that, they just kept it simple. And as I kept showing up, like Brittany said, everything got better. I was able to, get a get well job. And I learned that I really didn't need, like I was always out trying to hustle this or, stealing and stuff. You needed as much money as you could to drink and drug. And I was working like a part-time minimum wage job, and I had money laying around because I wasn't drinking and drugging. But it was like Brittany said, I was living in a halfway house with my parents paying the rent. My parent, I was 23 and I didn't know how to do anything.
No.
And thank God I still had them in my life. Well, they were sick of me, everybody was, but it's just that's what we do to people. but they were there in the end. And I think for me, it continued to get better. It was like, it's almost where the drinking and the drugging progresses. If you, stick around and, my experience is I joined a 12-step program. I've done the steps a couple of times, sponsorship, and then everything progressively got better. And I got a job from, that job. I was able to get a better job, maybe with some more hours, better pay, eventually get into a trade, and then moved home and get into one of the unions, the painters union, and I stuck with that for like 12 or 13 years. And everything, not even, it's just like anything, any physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, family, everything got better, in my opinion, because of AA.
Amen.
There's no, I don't really, I can't debate that because that's what I did. And then my life got better. It wasn't really much to do with me. I mean, I had to do the work, but, and it just continued to do that. And it's, today it's just, it's life today. It's real life. Like I've since gotten married and have 3 kids and have a job. Thank you.
Beautiful.
But then I think all those years of just going to meetings and listening to those guys, now it's more of, for me personally, just putting that all into, like your daily life.
Yep.
And not, because when I first got sober, I didn't have experience with anything other than screwing my life up and other people around me. So I would go to meetings and I could identify with what people were saying, but didn't really have experience with anything. Yeah. And now it's, you get sober and you go through everything. It's life. You're not exempt. Like you don't get sober and, get a great job and a bunch of money and just everything's, great all the time. Life happens. And you learn how to deal with stuff. It's not always bad. Like it's life. It's like, outside of people that are alcoholics or addicts, life happens to everyone. And you just, you learn how to deal with stuff. You learn how to handle stuff. Like you were saying, whether it's going to a meeting, picking up the phone and calling somebody. I'm not, at certain periods of my sobriety, I've tried to do like meditation and stuff. And it's helpful when I have, but I'm not consistent with it.
Yeah.
But I've always prayed a lot in the morning and at night throughout the day. At certain points of my sobriety, like I've gone back to church, and I don't get too involved with. I just do what I feel is helping me, and it's it's little things, but just staying consistent. And like Brittany said, I get into the treatment field. It's not for me. It has nothing to do with recovery. If anything, it would drive you the other way. It'll drive you crazy. So I just look at it. We are helping people, but it's a job. It's a job that we get to help people in. So it's just, I'm grateful that pretty much for everything that's happened, the good stuff, the bad stuff, because, I think going through those experiences kind of makes you who you are. And then the best thing was, all those old timers that helped me to get sober would always say, like, because it was uncomfortable taking. I didn't have anything, and they'd throw $20 in my pocket here and there, or buy me a pack of cigarettes or a coffee. They would pay for lunch, and I was like, it's just, I had nothing to give. Yeah. And they said, we're not asking. Like, you'd go out to eat, and they'd say, do you want to come? And I'd say, I don't have any money. I'd say, we didn't ask you if you had any money. We asked you if you wanted to come out to eat with us.
Right.
And they, said there'll be a time that'll come when you get on your feet, and then you just give it back.
Yes,
so
you do. That's how it works.
Yeah, and it's pretty cool. I mean, today I don't chase people around or I don't try to change. I just, whatever they did for me is what I try to, keep up front. And like, having the family and stuff, we're busy with a lot of things with the kids, so I don't get to as many meetings.
Is your wife in recovery?
She is.
Amen.
She is 7. I think she's 7 or 8 years.
Amen.
Yeah, thank God, because I don't. If we weren't, we'd really kill each other.
Yeah. Well, some people marry outside.
Yeah.
I didn't know what you had.
Yeah. I mean, so far it's worked for us, a day at a time. Some days better than others. I mean, I'm not a walk in the park either. So, yeah, I mean, it's just, it's all good. And I think that's the best part, is trying to give back, whether it's, if I am going to a meeting, a ride to a meeting, or just answering the phone. 'Cause I know there was plenty of times I picked up the phone and made absolutely no sense, was just full of fear and insecurities and complaining about everything. And, those guys listen. So if I can do anything to help people, and then, just try to carry that outside of, it's not just in AA, like just in everyday life. And, there's I make a lot of mistakes. None of us are perfect. We don't do this perfectly, but if we don't drink, like Brittany said, or pick up a drug, then we have a shot, tomorrow to correct it or fix it and still give back. So I think we're right at 7. I don't know what we're doing on time.
Yeah,
I'm gonna end there.
Yeah, and tell me a little bit about your organization before we go, in case people want to hear about it. Like I went to go see it. It wasn't ready yet. You weren't there.
Yeah.
How is Michael? I think
Michael
got injured. Is he okay?
Apparently he's got a broken foot.
Yeah.
Or something. Yeah, I don't know how it happened.
Yeah, that's what
he said.
Sure. So when are you looking to open? Is it a detox? Is it a CSS? Is it what is Cyclarity going to be?
So we are a 30-bed ATS and CSS program.
So if someone's listening and you just said ATS, what does that mean to them?
ATS is detox. So we'll have 14 detox beds and we'll have 16 residential beds for CSS. It's an all-male facility, co-occurring. It's in Saugus, Mass. We are in construction still.
Okay.
But I actually was there when you were there.
Yes.
I was leaving as you were pulling up.
Okay.
Our building is projected to be done on 4/1. It's
Okay.
been a long time coming.
Yep.
We had a lot of things that we wanted to make sure that we're right.
Okay.
We didn't want to just throw any flooring down. We didn't want to just throw anything on the walls. We wanted things to be a certain way because it was important to us. We wanted to make sure that the group rooms were sized the right way. And, we could give as much privacy as possible to our patients and things like that. Like we put a lot of work into it. And myself, I can honestly tell you, myself and the owners drew up the plans for the inside. Like
Nice.
I specifically have handpicked things for the program along with Michael and a couple of the people that are involved because everyone really cares. It's not just about, the dollar. I'm going to be honest. It's about like the colors of the walls and the floors and what's going to make it a nicer place for these people to be comfortable there, not just another place for them to like lay down and detox.
Yep.
And we've really put a lot of effort into that. And that's really why the construction, I feel like, is taking so long. But we are hoping that the building will be done by the 1st.
Okay.
I'll probably get staff in the building, hopefully about 30 days after.
Okay.
And then I'll start my licensing process with the Bureau of Substance Abuse, the DEA, and things like that.
Nice.
So we're hoping my projected timeline is that we will be taking patients in June sometime.
Amen. And when there's a grand opening, I do expect an
100%,
invite.
yes.
Okay.
The world
Sweet.
is invited.
Amen.
You'll get
So,
one for sure, Cole.
Thank you both for being here. Even
Thank
if you were
you.
listening tonight, I hope you got something out of tonight's message. I mean, I know I sure did. And I love when we go back to the very beginning of how the journey began, where it took us and where we're at today. So I thank you for giving of your time and talents this evening and sharing with everyone here. And I'll be back. I think, Lou, I picked April 28th because I know you had to bump us with John Pina from Meta. And I don't know who his guest is going to be. But until then, you guys, God bless, stay clean and stay sober. And as always, if you need someone to talk to, reach out to me. And if no one told you they loved you today, I love you. Have a good night. God bless. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Cole.
Thanks.
Thank you.